what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Gabe and
Shey Podcast.
Darn it, I said show. And I interrupted you.
It kind of is a show. I mean, we're a bit of a spectacle.
We're a show. We're kind of a big show. The Gabe and Shey Podcast, episode 7. Episode 7. Okay, so
week 7, you guys.
Week 7. That means that we're now talking about.
By the way, we just became best friends. We both did exactly the same thing with our hands at the same time.
We do that all the time, though. I feel like we're the only couple that does that. We know we're not the only couple that does that. Anyway, no, we spoke a lot about habit last week, and remember, we're kind of on the topic of human behavior. And these are some of the major things that need to be learned about in order to achieve success, in my opinion. Okay. If you're not achieving the results that you want, it's probably because you're not learning about these things. You're not educating yourself about these things. Instead, you're waiting for someone to walk up to you and be like, hey, do this. And you're like, okay, I will. And it doesn't work. And you're like, why didn't that work? They lied to me.
By the way, success is relative, right? We're not trying to tell anybody what their version of success is. This is your version of success, my version of success, our version together.
Hence why I changed the word to results. If you're not getting the results that you want, make the change, right? Make the change. So today we're going to talk about perception, right? Everybody wants to hear that their perception is garbage, don't they?
There's no context for that question.
So I guess what I mean is, the last thing someone wants to hear is that they're seeing things wrong, right?
Yeah.
The last thing that someone wants to even believe is that there's any way in hell that they are actually misinterpreting any type of situation. And so it's very difficult to challenge somebody on their perception when they may have a habit of an I know mentality or what they think is right thinking. And, before you decide that you're right or that you think right, go into that deep level of education and discover about your thinking, discover things about who you are and what you think, because in the end, that's the real telltale sign. You're not going to be able to judge that based on your current level of references, probably. Now, if you're highly educated, and by the way, just to be clear, I need to make a distinction about education. When I say the word education, Shey, what do you think of?
Probably the default school, elementary school, high school, college.
Yep. So most people, when you hear the word education, remember, this has been drilled into us since we were little kids. Most people think, because they take that childhood belief or interpretation into their adult life, that education means school, and it does not. Education means learning. Alex Hormozy says, get learned. I love that. Get learned. And most people do not take that seriously. They think that, well, look, it's up to my employer to learn me, educate me. It's up to my employer to teach me. It's up to my parents to teach me. I don't need to learn anything by myself.
Well, I think a lot of people don't even know that it's an option, because we haven't been taught that self-education, going out on our own to seek the education, we're not taught that that's even an option.
Isn't that interesting? And it breaks my heart.
At least I wasn't taught that.
No, you're right, though. It breaks my heart because most people, you're absolutely correct. They don't think that they can. And honestly, after education's done, after school, there's a beginning and an end. Matter of fact, what are you dreaming about from 11th, 12th, from 10th, 11th, and 12th grade? What are you dreaming about?
Graduating.
You're dreaming about getting to the end. And for those of you that actually move on to college, you're dreaming about that big change. And when you're in college, then it becomes the dream about when do I enter the professional world? When do I use this massive amount of education and enter the professional world and never have to do this again?
Yeah.
Right? We're absolutely indoctrinated not to continue education after a certain point.
Or indoctrinated to believe that education is a very specific thing, that we can't just go seek out the education that we're actually looking for.
Or both. But I don't know if you guys know what a library is. It's a pretty cool thing. And guess what? It's public, meaning that anybody can go there and read anything that they want. And there's not going to be a teacher there to be like, no. You shouldn't read that. You should do this instead. Nobody's there to tell you what to do. This is where you get control of your life. If you're not getting the results that you want, it's not anyone else's fault. It is 100% yours or mine if I wasn't getting the results that I want. Don't go blaming other people when I have all of this power that's been given to me. I have all of this control that's been given to me that I can take into that next level. I can go educate. I can go to the library, get a book. I'm pretty sure I can. Right?
Well,
I don't think I owe them any money.
You can grab them off the shelf and sit down and read it there, but you do still have to have a library card, I think.
Got to get a library card. I bet that's pretty expensive.
Stop.
Jim Rohn goes, well, can you bring me the library? No, you need to go get it. You need to get off your butt and go out there and go get it. Right? But this is about perception. Today's episode is about perception and
interpretations. Based on perception.
Based on perception. That's right.
Perspective?
Perspective. Yeah, because perspective is about, so perception would be about what references are you using to interpret something. Perspective is about, well, where are you sitting? What scene are you seeing? Mm-hmm. Right? So if you're on one side of the stadium, you might be watching a completely different game than if you're on the other side of the stadium. Right? Mm-hmm. If you're rooting for one team, the other team's rooting, or the other person's rooting for another team, you guys have two very different perspectives of what's going on.
Even though you're perceiving the same game.
Yeah, and you're probably using a lot of the same references like the rules and the boundaries and things like that. But I would say that would be the distinction in my mind.
Okay.
So when we start talking about perception and, when I say perception, what is it? It's funny that you're grabbing that right now because I want to talk about that.
Not wearing my reading glasses today, you guys.
Yeah. So Shay's got her readers, okay, and occasionally she uses them, right? Not that she needs them or anything.
A lot. I wore them all the first few weeks, and then sorry.
There you go.
I wore them the first few weeks, and then the arms of the glasses were like underneath these. It was painful.
Gotcha. The last thing I want is for her to feel pain, so I concur that this shouldn't happen like this. But it's funny that she picked up glasses because perception really is all about glasses. Mm-hmm. And so could you imagine, I was thinking about this. So I do public speaking, and I was thinking about doing a seminar. In my seminar, I was thinking about offering people to wear my glasses and maybe tell me what numbers are over there on the board and stuff like that.
I just got a genius idea.
Well, I think there might be some hygiene issues, or not hygiene, because by the way, I'm hygienic. I'm fine. I'm clean. Mm-hmm. I think there might be some stuff where that might get weird. But the point is, why would you, an example would be if I see something a certain way, okay, that means I'm looking through very specific set of glasses on how to see something, all right? And these glasses create the lenses through which I see the world. And so these lenses have been built by my young life. They were built by when I was a child. They are built by all of the beliefs, the values, and the skills that I have, the experience that I have, yes. And they're also built by my identity. And all of that provides the reference for how I perceive things. So that's technically the lens, if you want to put it that way. And so when I have a perception of something and somebody else can't see it, why would I get mad when they have a different prescription than I do? Isn't that interesting? Why would I get upset if they can't see it like I can see it? Why doesn't everybody not see it like me? Mm-hmm. Everybody should see it like me. No, they shouldn't.
Because we always feel like our way is the right way. Or that we have found the right way. Maybe it wasn't our way, but we found the right way and we want to share that with the world.
Yeah, the discovery belongs to you, right? Yeah. And the discovery belongs to all of us. And honestly, it's one of the reasons why we're here today. We discovered these things, but we didn't just discover them. We didn't just read a book and be like, hey, I want to talk to you about this book I read. We experienced it. We actually used the information. We created the results of who we are today. And that's the part that is mind-bending for me. And it was all about changing your lens, all about getting a new prescription.
And it's not just a matter of I think a hot topic right now culturally is the image of the 6 or the 9, which side of that are you standing on? It's not just a matter of that change of perspective.
Sure.
It goes deeper than that even.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. She's talking about, if I'm looking at a 6 and If there's a 6 and a 9, well, you can't see it, but if there's a 6 and a 9 here, to her it's a 6, and to me it's a 9. Well, actually, it would be a 6 to me. We'd both see 6s if it was a 6 and a 9 on top. She's right, though.
What?
I can't draw this out. All right, let's get off this.
Anyway, but that's perspective, right? Yeah. So, but perception and interpretations, that goes a lot deeper. That's not just physically what you see right there in front of you. It is also all that other stuff that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. And so I was in the Army for about 7 weeks. Okay. As you guys might have already known, I think I might have shared it, but I have Tourette syndrome. And at that time, it was pretty bad. I mean, it was in my younger years, it was pretty prevalent. I've learned to manage it today. And I never had a major case of it. I had a mild case of it. Big enough in school that it would... Kids. Big enough in school so that I was the second most made fun of kid in the whole school, but whatever. Anyways, so I was in the Army. It was about 6 weeks. And because of my Tourette's, I ended up leaving the Army. It was an honorable discharge. But I was sitting in the bleachers with some kids and some other kids, and we were just messing around. We weren't doing much. And this one kid had glasses, and I never wore glasses. Up to that point, I never wore glasses in my entire life. And I remember I was like, "Hey, could I try your glasses?" And we're just joking around, goofing off, right?
Yeah.
We're not doing anything. He's like, "Yeah, sure." And I put his glasses on, and the world changed before my very eyes. I literally saw leaves for the first time from a distance. That blew my mind. And for anybody that's ever put on glasses that has changed you, you know exactly the experience I'm talking about. And this happened to me. And it happened to me when I had no control over my vision at that moment. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know that if I tried a new pair of glasses on, I might be able to actually see better than I did before. I might, and replace the word better with clearer, because that's the truth of it. What ended up happening was I was seeing clearer. That's the same thing with perception, your own personal perception. So can you give me an example? Can you think of an example where you thought something was going down another way until you learned something new or somebody else shared their perspective and you completely changed your whole perspective on it? Can you think of a time when that's happened? And can you think of that at the same time? Can you think of that moment where you felt like crap afterwards because you responded? You remember the gap we talked about? You didn't create a gap between stimulus and response, and you responded horribly, only to find out later that it was a completely different situation. Can you remember something like that? Shay, what about you?
It's funny because we were just talking about this yesterday. So we do a family movie night with our family, with the family that's here in Iowa once a month, and everybody comes over or we go over there, whatever. But there's 14 of us that get together on a regular basis, and somebody different picks the movie each time, and it's a great time. Yesterday we had family movie night, and it was a slightly smaller crowd, just things happening, a couple of sporting events with the grandkids, and somebody was sick. And so there was only a few of us there last night, but Jaden was one of them. And so when I moved here, and the kids were young, so Jaden was 11, the twins were 8. And at that time, I did not know that Jaden sleepwalked. What's the proper way to say that in past tense?
Was really weird when he woke up. That's what it means.
Not just sleepwalked, but would wake up at odd times thinking that it was morning. Right. And so I was pretty new to the family, and I was pretty new up here, and, I was still getting to learn the kids. And Jaden, I think Gabe and I were, watching TV one night, and it's, late, 11, right? 11 p.m. And Jaden walked out of his bedroom, and we had put them to bed hours earlier, and he walked out of his bedroom, and he just walks up to us, and he's all confused. Why aren't we getting ready for school right now? Why aren't we leaving? Can I have some breakfast? And I don't know why I was mad. What are you doing out of bed?
Get to bed.
Get to bed. Stop goofing off, kid. That's the attention getting is over. Let's go, And Gabe actually was like, actually, he doesn't know that it's not morning right now. And so, Gabe kind of helps me understand, like, this is actually something that happens occasionally. I don't know if it still does. I don't think Jaden still sleepwalks, maybe. But it was an absolute change. But to bring that back, to realize that I got mad, but why? It wasn't a situation that I needed to be mad at. And afterwards, I felt awful.
And that's a typical response too, right? If you don't know, you respond based on whatever those parameters of your brain, right? If you've got a habit of responding a certain way, it's just going to be automatic. You shouldn't be upset at yourself for that kind of response. Instead, you should look to figure out how to correct it for the next time. That's the learning part, right? And it's the hardest part to do, according to they. It doesn't have to be hard, all right? But, honestly, successful people do what unsuccessful people won't. Remember that, okay? Successful people do what unsuccessful people won't. So if you don't put in the work, you don't learn, you don't do these things, you don't learn about perception, you don't do these things, don't expect your life to change. Don't be mad at the sun for heating you or the rain for making you wet. Don't think that the world is out to get you, because it's not. Your brain is a little bit out to get you, so maybe you should take control of it. So back to perception, though. That was a really great example of that. My first thought on this also was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Again, when I first heard the concept of this, a new lens. How could you possibly know what's going on if you're not seeing the event clearly? And how could you possibly allow yourself to make judgments based on the event through glasses that are dirty, right? You have the ability to try on different glasses. And just asking questions is trying on a new glasses, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I like the way you worded that. That's all.
Well, it's like, hey, I got to change this lens. So what, did you see it the way I saw it? Because I want to make sure that I'm seeing this correctly. You mind if I get a little social licensing here on my thoughts? And so asking questions will help you reframe your lens a little bit, or just clean up your lens. It's like just a cleaning cloth, right? But if there's nobody around and you're trying to perceive a situation, you don't really have anything to go on except your own references, your own experience, the way you were brought up. And it's unfortunate because even in those moments, today, like if I'm alone and I see a situation, now mind you, I've practiced a lot of these things. Today, I'll be like, okay, that's probably not it. Or I might even give it what's the word I'm looking for? An optimistic spin. Okay. I might give it an optimistic spin and be like, they didn't mean that, Great example is road rage. I hope this is a hot topic for all of you that are listening right now, okay? Because if you have road rage, it means that you are 100% not in control during those moments. And I forgive you, and everybody else should forgive people with road rage too, because frankly, it's a habit, okay? Learn how habits work, learn how perception works, and I promise you road rage will go away. And so when you've got road rage, give me an example of road rage that you can think of. You are welcome, audience. Oh my gosh.
Oh, wait, let me do it better.
Pirate Shey just came out. Yeah, there you go. Pirate Shey.
What do you mean an example of road rage?
She's driving her ship down the road, and they didn't see the black sails, and they cut her off, and she's like, "Arr!" That was awesome. That was so good. I appreciate you.
Oh my goodness.
So an example of road rage, somebody cuts you off, right? You get mad. What if they are screaming demon and they just found out that their wife is in a situation where she is getting they're burglarized in that moment? What if...
So he's rushing home to help save his wife.
Yeah, he's rushing home to help save his wife. What if she is rushing to get her son who's choking at school? What if you have no idea?
What if it's a 15-year-old getting his learner's permit? I'm serious.
No, they deserve to be yelled at. They got to learn their lesson.
Or what if it's your grandpa? Yeah. What if it's your grandpa and you're like road raging, and then you get up next to them and you're going to glare them down, and all of a sudden you realize it's like somebody who's like 90.
Yeah, I think honestly, what really happens is it's never the person that cuts the person off that ends up being the unsafe option. It's the person that loses control. It's the person that loses control of their emotions that becomes the unsafe option. Anytime you lose control of your emotions, you become utter chaos. And I don't know about you guys, but chaos doesn't care about anybody else. Chaos is 100% neutral. It doesn't care if you're happy or you're sad. It just eats everything. It's chaos. Have you guys seen the Neverending Story? That was Shay's pick for movie night, by the way. Neverending Story.
Such a good movie.
It is, but it's the nothing. The nothing doesn't care about you. So don't be mad at it. It just eats. That's all it does.
It just consumes everything.
Yeah. It's a nihilistic view of things, but it's the truth. When emotions control you, when you lose control and emotions take over, you are now a walking nothing. Nobody cares anymore. And so you've got to take care of those things. You've got to monitor that.
When we were talking about road rage a little, I think it was George Carlin, wasn't it? George Carlin who made the joke about when you're the person who's in the second lane over and somebody's speeding past you, you're like, what an a-hole, right?
Yeah.
But then when you're in the fast lane and the person in front of you is not going fast enough, you're still like,
what an a-hole.
So it doesn't matter which person you are, you still have that perspective. But so it's just a nice way to flip that, you know.
It is. No matter what, it's going to suck. Okay. No matter what, traffic sucks. And honestly, and the sooner that you understand that the moment you get in your car, you are accepting the fact that bad shit could happen. Period. You're accepting the fact that bad shit can happen. Listen, I'm a pilot. And so when we go to fly, there are so many checklists that go into play. I promise you that when I drive, I do not go through those checklists. And not only that, the amount of accidents and deaths per capita from driving is far more than it is with planes. And it's not necessarily because of the pilot of the car. It's because there's a lot more traffic and there's borders, right? With planes, I don't have borders and the traffic is far less, right? So take control of your perceptions. And if road rage is such a great example of this.
I'm not really sure how we got stuck on road rage because there's so much more to this.
It is.
To perception and interpretations. Wow. Way to put me on the spot. So
yeah.
One of the things, remind me what book we read this in, that people speak reflections of themselves, right? So a way to help change your perspective on a conversation that you might be having. If you're in a conversation with somebody and you feel like maybe they're complaining about you, you didn't do this, you don't do this, I need more of this, whatever. You want to take it very personally, right? You want to be like, I can't believe they're saying these things about me. However, if you can take yourself out of it, even though they're saying it's you,
right?
If you could take yourself out of it, not take it personal, and try to listen to understand that we speak reflections of ourselves. So they're feeling a certain way and they're expressing it and they're blaming you for it. It may or may not really be you.
No.
But they're just expressing a reflection of something they're feeling. And if you could take yourself out of it, you can change your perspective of what they're saying and possibly help resolve it, help to really get to the root of the issue.
It is a good example. It's a little.
I feel like I didn't explain that very well.
No, I think you did. It's kind of a far out example in regards to perception, but it is. If you perceive somebody yelling at you that it's your fault, that's perception. And if you understood that what they're actually doing is projecting their anger onto you, they're not actually mad at you, if anything, because they don't want to face the fact of what they could have done in order to prevent all of those things.
Maybe they really are mad at you. Maybe they don't recognize that what they're expressing is a reflection of themselves. So maybe they really are mad at you.
100%.
But if you can help to get to the root of that.
Yeah. So perception, the second part to perception is interpretation. And interpretation is done through the senses. So we've got all these senses that have been given to us, all these. We've got these 5 senses. Unless...
What are they, Professor Gabe?
Unless you watch The Fifth Element and then there's a 6th sense. Or you watch Bruce Willis and there's a 6th sense. But
do you see how you tied that in together? Bruce Willis is in both of those movies.
I love Bruce Willis, if you can't tell. Oh my gosh. Thank you. I'll get a bump for that. Bruce Willis is in both those movies. And so, and in the case, it was love. Love is the sixth sense. I love you. I sense that love. Anyway, interpretation is about using your senses to get all that information. And then the lens that you look through is your perception. Okay. And then once it gets through the lens, then interpretation takes over. And if you don't have good references or good experience of your life on how to interpret things, there's a good chance that you're going to be wrong more often than not. And so if you find yourself misinterpreting a lot of information, that's another part where you got to get in there and you got to learn more about human behavior, because now you're internalizing things that you don't need to internalize. Okay, well, now you're going to have stress, anxiety, right?
Right.
And it's literally a feedback loop of bullshit that you're going to have to go through, which probably is going to cause cancer. It's probably going to cause you to be diseased, or something's going to happen to you where you're not going to be able to control your body, become unhealthy because of all the anxiety. So you really need to focus on it. You need to focus on how you see things, and then what is your brain doing to the things that are actually coming in. Because even if you clear it up, even if you clear up how you see things, it doesn't mean that you're not going to interpret it away based on references or experiences that you've had in the past. Mm-hmm. A great example of interpretation is if you were a child, and this also creates a lens, okay? So if you were a child and let's say you fell off your couch, all right?
Ouch.
Yeah, right? And as a child, it could be like uber ouch. If you fell off a couch as a child and landed on your head, you might think couches are evil. You might go into life being like, no, couch, you're not going to throw me around, and literally take that into your life. If nobody sets you aside and is like, hey, pal, it wasn't the couch, and puts you back on the couch and lets you know you're safe, don't worry. If nobody does that, then you're going to create your own interpretation of that event. Not you, you're 4 years old, but your brain will make an interpretation, and it's going to record it for the rest of your life. You know, a lot of people are afraid of heights these days. Have you ever asked yourself why? Right? Typically speaking, it could be because of a small fall when you were a kid, and that's just how you interpreted falling.
Oh, I took that question totally differently. I know why I'm afraid of heights.
Why are you afraid of heights?
But not the root of why I'm afraid of heights. I'm afraid of heights because if I fall and I don't die, that's like the worst. Because if I fall and I die, I'm not going to know, right? If I die, I'm dead. Oops.
You know, quite frankly, I don't think that's the worst.
It's the fall and you are like maimed for the rest of your life. Yeah, like bedridden for the rest of your life. That would be awful.
It would be awful. So real quick though, back to interpretation. No, squirrel. Back to interpretation. If you did interpret things, if you're taking childhood interpretations into your adult life, it means that you've never taken a moment to go back and explore some of those original beliefs that you've created. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't gone back and explored some of those original beliefs, how are you going to possibly change any of them? Mm-hmm. Experience isn't going to change them for you. You have to go back and perceive them as an adult. You have to go back safely and perceive those events as an adult. And if you don't, well, you're going to take those interpretations to the end of your life. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but it could be the cause for a lot of your stress or lack of success or results. So some thoughts on how to tackle that. Were you going to say something?
And go. No.
Oh, well, that was easy. So look, take control over your interpretations, and for the love of God, take control over the lens on how you see things. And you do this by learning how to see things. You start learning about human behavior, learn about habits, learn about reaction versus response, stimulus versus response, that gap.
And ask questions. Because how you think the situation is may not be how the situation really is.
Absolutely.
So ask questions. Be okay with asking questions. Try to keep it away from accusatory questions, right? Well, why? Ugh, how could you? That kind of, but like clarifying questions. Like, okay, so wait, I think I heard you say ABC.
Yeah.
You know.
And you need to take control over that too. Like that's a great example, and then we'll wrap up. But when you said that, asking a question, how you ask that question is imperative. Mm. It's going to get you the best answer. And one of the ways is if you claim interpretation, okay, I interpreted this as blank. Okay. Right away, you're removing all accusatory offense from the other person. You're disarming them essentially. And so if you say, I interpreted it this way, you're owning your interpretation, right or wrong, you're owning it. And then they can clear it up for you. Now, if the other person on the other side is like, well, that's because you're stupid. Well, then maybe they shouldn't be your friend. Or maybe they should be your best friend because that's fun.
Right?
Yeah, it depends on your humor. It depends on your humor. We find that funny. Anyways, anything else to add to that? We're kind of out of time, I guess.
Yeah, no, I don't have my reading glasses on, but I think we covered the majority of what I had.
So just to be clear, not only does she not have her reading glasses on, but her font of how she wrote was literally flea size. Like you can't even, I don't even think a ballpoint pen can make letters on how small those are. I'd show you, but I don't want to,
That was a ballpoint pen.
I'd see. Yeah. I don't believe it. Not by looking at it. Anyways, this has been
today's stand-up has been brought to you by
the Gabe Shey Podcast. Episode, what are we, 7? Episode 7, you guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you liked what you heard, please share this. It might not be you today that finds this information valuable, but someone out there might find this valuable. And if you share it, there's a chance that it could change someone's life. And that's really all that we want.
And I recognize that sometimes we get off on tangents or we get into making references that don't quite make sense yet, because we've been on this path for a long time, but don't be afraid to give us a shout out in the comments or, message us directly and ask us for clarification or share your thoughts on, how we could have stayed on track a little bit better. I don't know.
Well, no, you're right though. We're still learning on how to talk about these things and get everybody's on board. I'm a business coach. So we get to do these things on another level, but I don't want to hit you from a business coach point of view. Okay. I want to hit you from a man's point of view and a woman's point of view and them in a relationship. So hopefully we come across that way and fun.
Hopefully.
All right. Have a great day and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for listening.